So after a lot of hard work I've done from the likes of yesterday, turns out that there's still more things to come for this point, especially because of how the fact that we're off by about few more power moons to go, and especially noticeable that we still got 9 more of those regional coins left. But hopefully we can able to actually get those done in during time. Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, I'm Mario here once again, and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Super Mario Odyssey for the Nintendo Switch. So, last time we actually did manage to able to collect some of these power moons in the forms of in the Wooded Kingdom, and and we didn't get that many of those regional coins, I'm afraid, just because I don't know where they are at this point in time. Well, I did manage to found some of it at a time, but even then though, that's as far as memories goes, that's what I can really think about. So today for this episode is the fact that since this episode is going to be significantly shorter than the likes of the previous videos that we've done, because of that though, we'll hopefully try to finishing off with this kingdom in time. So even then though, because now we need to go ahead and, well obviously if you couldn't see right there, that we did manage to found one of the actual the actual hint art by the forms of the Wooded Kingdom, and it's going to be takes place in Ascent Kingdom. But on the other hand though, we'll be there enduring soon enough. But either way, yeah, today was actually forms of the 27th of February, so that means today that the Pokemon Direct has been shown off by the forms of recently, actually, enjoy the likes of in today, because obviously that did manage to able to make it happen enduring for the likes of about 2 o'clock in the UK time, which is not that long to able to actually wait for this long, and seems somehow by the forms of how the fact that when it comes to the actual Direct itself, unfortunately it's only for about 7 minutes, but I'm guessing because they're usually focusing on one thing at this point in time. But either way though, we'll mention about that as soon as we're able to proceed for this. So even then though, as you can see, we got ourselves another power moon looking down on these Goombas, which I'm presuming that's what this mission is called. And we'll go ahead and transport ourselves back to here again, and hopefully we'll be able to actually just, you know, gather more of those power moons and all that stuff, and hopefully it should able to be, you know, be good to go for this point. And I believe that the next challenge is actually this one here, and I believe this is the last timer challenges in this particular kingdom, but this time around we got to do, you know, swinging bar, platforming segments, and then once you reach all the way from here, then there you go. Wooded Kingdom Timer Challenge 3. So, yeah, top notch that is. So anyways, let's go ahead and just go over there. And because we need to use that fire bro for the next mission, because we need him to able to light up the fire. Well, not just any fire, but one particular wooded fire, so that way we can able to actually light it up. But usually, most NPCs always attempt to able to be afraid of any kind of Mario enemies that you're able to capture for us. Even then though, here we get ourselves hot from the campfire. Well, in this case, the campfire. Excuse me. And then let's go ahead and move on to the next mission, and I believe the next mission we do need to require is of course an onion. Now we need to use him for twice at the moment, well actually 3 times actually, because there's one over there, the nut in the robot storeroom, which, you know, this will be only accessed if you use the onion capturing ability. And there's another moon that is actually in here, which should be higher up in the cave. But that doesn't end off here, because obviously there's actually another power moon that we can able to find. But even then though, this one can be very easy at some point. But unfortunately though, I seem to able to actually skip that for some reason, because I usually just concentrate on you know, finding the regional coins here and there, and especially noticeable with the forms of some of those power moons in mind. So even then though, because of that, I seem to able to concentrate on certain things and all that stuff for some reason. So anyways though, let's just go ahead and just continue on, and we'll go ahead and, why do I just ground pound here? I meant to able to go ahead and use the Cappy long jump to begin with, but at least as far as those memories concerned about it, but either way though, yeah. So, a few things I want to explain about this, actually, is the fact that, when it comes to the forms of the Pokemon Directs, somehow they only focusing on one thing in particular, because unlike any forms of how it does in the previous years of Pokemon Directs, since 2016, And especially with 2017, they did manage to mainly focusing on multitude of Pokemon titles. Like, for instance, back in 2016, for all the Pokemon Directs, they did usually focusing on the 20th anniversary of the entire series in general, and then alongside with several announcements, like, for instance, Pokemon Game Boy titles, including by the forms of, like, let's just say, Pokemon Red and Blue and Yellow, coming to the Nintendo 3DS eShop Virtual Console versions, and then I believe in the Japan-only version gets a Pokemon Green. And, yeah, because of that though, and also same applies by the forms of the announcement of the Generation 7 Pokemon, which is the, you know, Pokemon Sun and Moon. And then, that was about it, I think, if I remember correctly. And, along the forms of how the fact that in 2017, that we've actually got ourselves, you know, the Pokken Tournament DX port, which is the forms of, the ports for the Nintendo Wii U game, which is, of course, Pokken Tournament, but, with, you know, play on the go. And also, the same applies for Pokemon Gold and Silver game coming to the Nintendo 3DS eShop Virtual Console version, which it did already happen on 2017. Alongside with that, there is also Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, which is perhaps one of the final, I would say, party forms of the final releases of the Pokemon games on that particular system, but I'm guessing it might be pretty obvious. So, anyways though, so I'm assuming we're almost nearly towards the end of the Wooded Kingdom at this point, because we've only just got 2 more Power Moons to go, and hopefully it should be able to be good to go. I'm not sure if I can able to get as many of those Power Moons in this video though, but even then though, so far anyway, as you can see on the actual tally right there, that I've managed to go myself about 30 of them. So, not bad at all, but not nearly as much as you think about it. But even then, let's just go ahead and deal with this next mission, which I'm assuming we need to once again use an onion to be able to actually capture for, and basically we need to get as many of those musical notes. But if you do, then obviously the Power Moon is just right over there. So let's go ahead and stretch it all out, and sure enough we get another Power Moon, taking notes, stretching, because you know, you have to stretch on things. So anyways, I believe that's it for now anyway, aside from the final Power Moon, which you could be only obtained if you manage to able to transport back to the Sand Kingdom, which is one of those, you know, these little hint darts that we can able to actually just hunt for. But even then though, before we get onto that, however though, unfortunately it seems to say that we haven't exactly done with this world just yet though, because obviously, you know, regional coins to be found here, so I'll meet you guys back. Okay, I did a jump cut for this point right there, and to be honest, I haven't really exactly know where the regional coins are supposed to be hiding, but we'll hopefully definitely gonna have to find them as soon as we can. But either way though, because of that though, this might take a really long while to able to memorize everything. So even then though, well, some of them I know what they are, but majority of at the time, that I don't know exactly the rest. But either way though, let's just get into the actual main treatment of this discussion, which is the forms of the Pokemon Direct, for this year specifically. And as I said this before, it only focusing on one thing. So even then though, because of that though, yeah. And the fact of the matter is though, with the forms of the Pokemon Direct, by the forms of what's happening today, the new Pokemon game has been announced for not the remake, because obviously they've already done, let's just say, a remake of Pokemon Yellow from the Game Boy, but rather by the forms of a brand new Pokemon title coming to the Nintendo Switch, and some people seem to be very happy about. But, on the other hand though, it's going to be a next generation of Pokemon title, which should be Generation 8, because obviously we have, you know, got, let's just take a look back in the forms of, like, the history of the Pokemon titles once I'm going to be hunting for those regional coins, as you can see on this footage. So, obviously back in the Game Boy days, we got ourselves Generation 1, which is obviously Pokemon, Red, Blue, and Yellow, and even Japanese exclusive Pokemon Green. And alongside with that, the Game Boy Color gets its 3 games of Pokemon games, and it takes place in Generation 2, which they are Pokemon Silver and Pokemon Gold, including Pokemon Crystal, which didn't came out until 2001. And as well as Generation 3 for the Game Boy Advance, well, once again, it only has like 3 games, well, including the Generation 1 remake by the forms of, well, Fire Red and Leaf Green, and also by the forms of the proper Generation 3, which there are Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald, which didn't came out until 2005. And aside from all that, there's also plenty of Pokemon games did manage to came out back in the day for the Nintendo DS, which usually there's one of, or actually two of them actually, from Generation 4, which we did manage to have Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, and also the Platinum version, which doesn't came out until 2009. And, well, 2008 specifically for, in Japan. And, also, they did have the Generation 2 remake on the Nintendo DS, which is, I think it's Heart Gold and Soul Silver. And, also we had the Generation 5 Pokemon titles, which there are, obviously, Black and White versions, which I think that did came out originally in 2010 in Japan, but it wasn't until in 2011, and specifically the English version did manage to get it. So, and I believe in 2012 we get ourselves a sequels to, in Generation Pokemon titles these days, which there are obviously Pokemon Black and White version 2, which, pretty much plays exactly the same thing, but, with more storytellings or anything like that. So, and, in the actual 3DS lineup, as far as I remember this correctly, that we did have, like, Generation... Oh, yeah, the Generation on Pokemon Black and White is actually Generation 5, so it's one of the pointing things out. And then in Generation 6 that we have is obviously X and Y for the Nintendo 3DS in 2013, and then alongside with the forms of Generation 3 Remake on, for the 3DS, which there are Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. And, also, by the looks of all this, we got ourselves, Generation 6 Pokemon titles, which there are, obviously, Sun and Moon. And also, we get ourselves a sequel to Pokemon Sun and Moon, which is obviously Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, back in 2017. But, it's been about, or in this case in 2018, we did technically got Pokemon games, but they're just more accurately just for the usage of not only by the forms of the Pokemon Let's Go series, but it's also taking parts of the forms of Pokemon Go's features as well, which is obviously Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee editions, which obviously it's pretty much exactly like a remake, almost a remake of Generation 1, well, to be more specifically the Pikachu edition. And, it seems we didn't have any luck at all with the forms of the remake of Generation 4 yet. But even then, let's just hope if that will find out. For those of you able to be really wish if that would be the case. Well, until when it gets to, like, at some point in 2020. Because at this point in time, they always attempt to able to announce any kind of Pokemon game for every year. Well, the only year exception is, of course, 2015. Because I don't think we actually got as many of those Pokemon infos on during that specific year in 2015, which is a little bit lackluster if for those people who actually be very curious about this, and you get the idea for that point. So, let us get into the real treatment, shall we? Since we're now going to be on since we're still at 2019, so what else to be expected? We actually gone to Generation 8 now. And what title did we get revealed after that specific announcement, specifically for the Pokemon Direct today? Well, is now calls it Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. Based off on the weapons, huh? Well, as far as I've noticing that, naturally. And as far as I've looked at the game, even though, again, I'm not exactly gonna pick it up though, just because, well, I wasn't really a hardcore Pokemon fanatic. Well, I do usually enjoy most of the Pokemon movies most of the time. Some exceptions, like that stupid Pokemon the movie 7. I'm sorry, I just really hate that film so much. It's just because it just feels way too much emphasis on the forms of that Toei's stupid scareness. Like, he's such a coward. I mean, I just can't stand him, because either way, though, I think, to me, quite frankly, though, I think Toei probably is one of my most hated character in the entire freaking Pokemon universe to me, because he didn't really do that much for me, though. But either way, though, enough about that. So, yeah, let's just get to the actual main topic of the forms of Pokemon Sword and Shield versions, because after all, they're all separate games, but they played exactly the same, but the noticeable difference is the different Pokemon you might actually encounter between those two versions. So, I don't know exactly if they're going to be announcing the third version or something, but either way though, it's a bit too early to predict at the moment. So, as far as the forms of Pokemon Sword and Shield versions of Generation 8 game, of course it's all on the, you know, Nintendo Switch after all, because I'm pretty sure enough, the 3DS is pretty much done, at least as far as forever goes. And, as a matter of fact, that when I've looked at the gameplay, the actual game visual style looks absolutely gorgeous though, especially this is on, you know, Nintendo Switch, and it's about time that, you know, since we've already had the Pokemon mainstream title to be released on the forms of the actual console, since, you know, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee Edition, but however though, it's not the actual main lineup or anything, so... Oh, okay. I guess I haven't explored that much of this area yet, so even then, because I did not actually notice there's actually the final 3 regional coins that need to be found around here, so hopefully we'll find them in time. So anyways though, as far as for the actual, like, you know, the game itself, with Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, it's gonna take place in a new region, which I think it was actually called, Galara, Galara region, that's what I meant to say. And, I don't know exactly what that place was actually based off from, but, some people usually say it's gonna take place in somewhere almost at London or England. I can't really exactly, really tell because of, how the fact that, well, the game wasn't exactly finished yet, because even then though, they still have more development time has become, so even then though, because of that, well, as far as I've noticed is the fact that obviously this place is going to be gigantic as ever, just like in any other titles for these days from the past. And not to mention because of how the fact that not only does it able to bring out more Pokemon in the future, but also because of how the fact that they actually did manage to bring out 3 new starter Pokemons, which, of course, once again, much like in forms of the previous Pokemon titles throughout the years, once again, it's going to be 3 different types, which there are obviously fire, and grass, and water types. Even then though, those other names are, the Croaky, which is basically just a combination of a leaf or grass type Pokemon, but with a monkey looking design, which I think is actually kind of cool looking for that design. But either way though, that's as far as I can say about it. And obviously he's a grass type Pokemon. And the next one is Slurple, which is basically a water type Pokemon, even though it's like a frog type. Or in this case, I can't exactly what the actual species about the forms of certain Pokemon types there are, because obviously I haven't really looked upon Pokemon titles that much these days, because either way, I haven't really picked up as many of those Pokemon mainstream titles. Although, one exception is of course Pokemon Gold, which I still have no idea why I still got that, but I'm guessing because of how the fact that, you know, the Celebi events, which did happen back in 2017, before Pokemon Ultra Moon is about to be approaching, but since I've no longer have that, but either way though, that's just besides the point. And the third and the final one, which is supposed to be Scarlet Bunny, which is apparently he was a fire type Pokemon, but in the forms of the actual bunny type. Which either way though, that I will say, they do look very cool looking, but either way though, that's just besides the point. So even then, I wonder how many Pokemon species that we might actually stumble across. But I'm sure they did only show off the forms of some gameplay footage, but not the actual battle gameplay yet. But I'm guessing they're gonna have to save up for the majority of it until this year's E3 for sure. And obviously the final obvious thing is of course the actual release date of Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. Much like always, it's gonna be releasing at some point in late this year. Well, specifically, I would say by the forms of in November. Well, it depends though, really, because either way though, then again, we have to wait until this year's E3 is going to approach. So even then though, because of that, well, again, I'm not exactly sure I was going to picking up that game, because even then I haven't really picked up, or in this case, I haven't really played that much Pokemon games these days. Well, some exceptions, which are, of course, the spin-off titles, but either way, though, that's as far as I can really say about it. So anyways, though, that way, that's what I can really mention about the forms of Pokemon Direct. Even though, again, it's only for one thing specifically, because of the amount of time they can able to work on with, is of course they need to save that up until this year's E3. So, anyways, though, let's return back to the forms of the Sand Kingdom, as you can see there, because we need to get ourselves the one final Power Moon in the Wooded Kingdom. Because you remember by the forms of the Hint Arch that I did manage to show you guys earlier, now we need to able to find that properly. See, Fernando, as far as I've noticed, is going to be between those little two dried bushes, which even Fernando, it should be around throughout right there. Excuse me. And I do apologize by the forms of my throat is actually got a little bit more cracked up at one point because once again it's gone all dried up. So because you know commentating on certain stuff, it always makes my throat get a little bit more drier or anything like that. And because this video is going to be significantly shorter compared to the forms of the previous parts of this Let's Play so far, is to be expected. There's not much else I can talk through for this point in time because either way. Since after all that we're about to be hopefully trying to finishing up with Wooded Kingdom, it wasn't until whenever we get back to this world, exponentially, until whenever we decide able to actually find the rest of these, you know, hint arts later on. But even then, we'll mention about more details onto that later. But for now, let's go ahead and obtain the final Power Moon in the Wooded Kingdom, and there we go, it's just right there. And that's pretty much wrap things up with Wooded Kingdom. I was potentially trying to able to do this within the previous video, but because I didn't have enough time to able to actually finish up the rest of it though, so oh well, two separate parts as it is by the forms of the Wooded Kingdom so far. But either way though, that's besides the point right there. So there we go. So I believe we got ourselves 496 at the moment, and even then as you can see that I've got 4 more Power Moons to go. But even then, because of how the fact that I believe they might actually give us something if we manage to able to go ahead and you know, just keep on collecting those Power Moons most of the time. So before we head off to the next kingdom, which is the Lake Kingdom, I'm gonna pop over to the Luncheon Kingdom quickly, just because of how the fact that there was actually that one specific mission I was gonna be on about, and that is the forms of, you know, that taxi segment. Now the fact of the matter is that I'm going to have to do that most of the time throughout in this particular game, because I believe he was actually on the actual town center right there, and excuse me about that, sorry about that folks, and because of that though, yep, there he is right there, so that way we could able to talk to him, and then once you're done with that, then obviously the Power Moon itself is rewarded for me, so there we go. But on the other hand though, we'll assume to say that he'll say something about to tip-top higher sky, maybe. But of course, that will be the Moon Kingdom next up. See, Fernando, I probably will do that later on throughout this Let's Play, just because I need to get a lot of some time before we're able to actually just go ahead and deal with all that stuff. And I was gonna potentially try to save those kinds of missions for later on, but I know for the fact that most of these missions are pretty much out of order. But even then, though, that's besides the point, because I like whatever I was trying to do for this point. So anyways, let's go ahead and insert another Power Moon in here, and let's just see how much we have. 497. So we got about 3 more to go. So even then, though, we're getting quite close towards the 500 Power Moon mark. And even then, though, before we're able to actually continue on with the Lake Kingdom, let's just pop over to Bowser's Kingdom quickly, because there was actually that one of those Power Moons I need to grab based off from the Sand Kingdom, which is, you know, another one of those hint arts we need to able to actually just find. But of course, before we do anything, is that Kathy always says the exact same line with that specific moon rock is going to be located. It's like, it's going to happen every single time. Whenever if you didn't activate for those kinds of stuff, then basically he'll mention about that a lot if you haven't been to those places long enough. Well, if you just manage to ignore activating it. So, but I digress. So let's go ahead and there's Peach and Chihuahua over there, but I'll be saving those until later, because either then we'll might as well able to focusing on that Sand Kingdom art for now. And truth be told, we've only just got about to ourselves one more Power Moon left for the Sand Kingdom, but of course that will be up for later, because either way, because if we double check onto here, then obviously that, you know, we've only got one more power moon left, which I'm presuming this is actually going to be based off from the taxi missions. So even then, though, because of that, we'll be saving those up until later. But for now, that pretty much does it for now, and even though still we haven't exactly collected that enough power moons for this video, but definitely lesser than that compared to previously, so 498, so we've only got 2 more to go until we're able to actually unlock something for, as soon as we're able to reach up to like 500 power moons. So we'll just go ahead and move on to the next kingdom, which is of course the Lake Kingdom. And so that we can able to do that next time for the next video. So hopefully it should be able to be done and good and all in all. And even then though, before we end this off however though, I need to go ahead and quickly change my costume outfit before we're able to actually just to go ahead and deal with that for the next video. So of course the next moon rock is going to be at almost near to Luigi. Jeez. How weird is that? But anyway though, we'll go ahead and deal with all that until at some point or another. But even then though, that for now on though, we'll still have to focusing on those you know, power moons obviously. So let's change into ourselves into a pirate outfit. Because, you know, we feel like the pirates, the son of the seas, or anything like that. Although I wasn't really trying to able to change into him until Seaside Kingdom, but I somehow made a mistake. So anyways, join me next time on Let's Play Super Mario Odyssey. It's the fact that we're about to be returning back to the Lake Kingdom to be able to grab not only the final 3 regional coins as you can see there, but also, get this, collecting more of those, you know, power moons. So see you guys then. Later, fellas.